Hi. So I wanted to make a video about being helpful, and I want to give you a little bit of context for this. So yesterday I was leading at Blooming Beats our very first full day Create Your Vision Board workshop, and it was amazing, and we're going to have more of those. So if you want to participate, just respond to my email, and I'll send you the info sheet. And it was such a great day. And I was coaching somebody during the workshop, and she was struggling with a relationship with her work colleague. And I asked her if you could allow yourself to be very petty right now and just give up being spiritual and evolved and aware and all this stuff. You could really be petty and straight with the thoughts that you have about this friend of yours or colleague, what would it be? And she said, well, I have it that this person is annoying. She's disrespectful. She doesn't do her job. She's incapable. She doesn't listen. She doesn't do what I tell her to do. And I'm not going to share this person's name, but I'll tell you that this is a very, very, very smart, evolved human being, which almost makes it harder because she's aware that this is just her thoughts and feelings about this. And at the same time, she's very attached to it. Okay, and she's really stuck. She's really dealing with this. And it's a hell for her. Her work environment is a lot of anxiety right now. And I was trying to help her, and we didn't have a whole lot of time during the workshop. And this morning, coincidentally, I'm reading this book, and I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I'm going to link it in my blog post or below the video. And part of the book was about being helpful. So that's what I want to talk about. So you like to help. Helping makes you a better human, right? Does it though? Does it always? Now, I want you to go back to a time when somebody tried to help you. Or even worse, when somebody jumped in to your rescue and took over at work. And ask yourself, how did that feel? What sort of way of being did come up for you? Did you get annoyed? Did you resist their help? Did you get frustrated? Did you feel any sort of disempowerment? There's a book called Helping by Edgar Schein, and he wrote about that when you offer to help somebody, you one up yourself and you raise your status and you lower, he says, hers, or his. And so this morning I'm listening to this audiobook about being helpful and all of what, okay, I'm going to look up this author's name so I can actually say it. Michael Bungay-Stanier. I have no idea how to pronounce it, and I apologize to the author if I am mispronouncing it. But what he said so resonated with me. And what he's saying, if you ever find yourself in one of these roles or one of these ways of being, sulky, moany, shouty, crabby, martyry, touchy, or petulant. It's like the 7 dwarfs. And you're being that way when you know you should know better. You are likely playing one of the 3 roles. So here are the 3 roles. The victim, and you can take notes on this. This is really good. The victim, the accuser, and the rescuer. He actually calls them something different, but this is what I relate it to better. So you have the victim, the accuser, and the rescuer. So let's talk about the victim first. I'm just going to read my notes as I'm talking to you. So in the victim zone, your go-to belief is, life is so hard and poor me and it's unfair. And you're quick to think and say, oh, it's not my fault, it's yours. And here's the thing, there's always payoff. There's a benefit to these kinds of dynamics. So your benefit, if you're the victim, is that you don't have to be responsible for fixing anything. You get to complain a lot, and you basically create rescuers around you. And you tend to feel stuck because you have no power, no causative matter. Things don't really happen around you when you're being the victim. Okay. And I definitely was playing this role in my marriage with Sam. And I created a rescuer. And I'm sure he would say he created a victim because he likes to take 100% responsibility for everything. And so do I. So we created this victim rescuer dynamic all the time. And it was really interesting because I'm so not that way in my professional life. So not at all. So it was really interesting that came up in that relationship dynamic. And it usually doesn't come up. So it was really interesting. Now, the second one. So we went over the victim role, okay? Now, the second one is the accuser role. If you're the accuser, your core belief is that, when you're at work, you're surrounded a bunch of idiots. And your go-to dynamic is, it's not my fault, it's their fault. They're the idiots. They suck. Now, your benefit of being this way is that you get to feel superior and you get to be in control. After all, you're the only one capable around here, aren't you? I'm being sarcastic. And of course, there's a cost to this. You end up being responsible for everything. And you tend to feel overworked and exhausted because why? You have created a bunch of victims around you and no one seems to take initiative. Now, the interesting thing is that people might think of you as a micromanager and you don't see it because you are blaming them for being incapable. It's like, yeah, of course I have to step in. Of course I have to take over because you guys suck. And you likely feel frustrated all the time and you don't trust people. And there's a part of you that might feel resigned about the whole situation and you have no idea how to get out of it. And it's not easy. I've created a bunch of victims and I have to uncreate them if you want to get out of this, okay? And here's the thing. You're not bad and wrong. It's human. So if this is you, I want you to forgive yourself right now. And what I'm going to share with you that this is totally me 2 years ago of running Blooming Beats Kitchen. Pretty much the way of being that I just described, I was describing myself. And if you're stuck in this one and working all the time, you must get coaching. Because here's the thing, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I've been through this. I can tell you, you might be convinced that it's really not you, it's them, but it is really you. Okay. And, had I not gotten coaching on this, I'll tell you the restaurant would not exist right now. At some point, I was in this vicious circle of, I can't get out of this. Like, these people really aren't taking initiative. They're not doing anything. I have to step in all the time. I have to work all the time. I'm the only one who knows what's going on here. Okay. So there is a way out. You've got to get serious about this and really get present to that this is you. Okay. So that's the accuser. Now, the third role is the rescuer. If you're the rescuer, your core belief is, let me jump in and rescue and fix this. It's my responsibility, not yours. I actually tend to get this way with my staff too. And I create a lot of victims that way. So I'll go, especially in my past, I don't do it so much anymore, but oscillate between the rescuer and the accuser. And so if you're the rescuer, your go-to dynamic is, it's my fault, not yours, okay? And if you're falling into this category, there's a lot of things to look at. First of all, you need to get coaching and you need to transform this, because it really adds a lot of work to you if you're rescuing everybody. You gotta look at, okay, what is the trigger? What happens right before I feel this urge to jump in and rescue everybody, okay? What's the feeling behind it? Maybe there's a sense of guilt if you don't. Maybe there's, I'm good enough if I sacrifice enough, okay? And the second thing is to look at, you gotta start looking at what happens if you stop rescuing and instead support others in doing their job and holding them accountable and leading them versus jumping in. And I was dealing with this a couple years ago, and what came up for me is that I was very, very hesitant to set boundaries and expectations and ask people to step up. And I created a bunch of victims around me, so that whenever I did ask them to do something, I would feel guilt-tripped. And my coach called it a double gang up, because I feel guilt-tripped by two different entities. One was myself, my alter ego. I was feeling guilty about asking them to do more. And the other was the other person who was actually guilt-tripping me too, because I did create them as a victim. You know, one of my coaches says, you know, you train people around you to be a certain way and then you blame them. And that's essentially what's going on. And the payoff of this martyr-like behaviors that when you're doing this rescuer thing, you get to feel morally superior. I'm good enough because I sacrifice enough. And you also, some people have this, I don't, but some people get to feel indispensable. I know Sam had this. Oh, this is interesting. I just got that. And so the cost tends to be to you mostly. Well, I guess to them too, because nobody actually likes being victim, right? And so the cost is you can be really resentful. And you tend to go and feel unappreciated and burdened. And you create, I already said this, but you do create these victims around you. This is important to get. You're responsible for this. So here's the three modes, right? And it's not who you are. It's not who you are. It's just how you act in different situations. So I think in the next video, I'm going to make part 2. I'm going to talk about what to do about this. All right.